So I'm identifying any type of gaps that I may have with that particular content, and then all the different possibilities that I can create. And then I'm posting it in that way where I'm like, those that are images, I have certain AI situations for that. If I need to create it in a written standpoint, whether it's like a newsletter, like some of my top, let's say, pieces of content I turn into newsletters. Some, especially my short form. My short form content will turn into a newsletter or a YouTube video. Normally, my threads, my really good threads, then turn into reels. So it's not reels first. My ideas go into threads. The ones that work very well then turn into reels. The reels then turn into newsletters that then turn into YouTube lives or YouTube videos, depending on what the topic is.
Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Nicky Saunders. If you don't know who Nicky is, you need to know Nicky. She is a content strategist who specializes in Instagram. She's the founder and CEO of Deeper Than the Brand, a consultancy that helps influencers create visual content to grow their brands. Her YouTube channel is at This Is Nicky S, and her membership community is called Content Corner. Nicky, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
What's poppin'? How are you feeling?
I'm awesome. It's super awesome to have you on this brand new show. Today, Nicky and I are going to explore how AI can help anybody who's creating content improve all the different pieces of it. Now, Nicky, some people that listen to the Social Media Marketing Podcast might know some of your story, but they don't know all of your story. And there's a lot of people listening today. So share a little bit of your background on how you got into content creation and then how AI all of a sudden came on the scene for you.
Absolutely. Kid from Queens, New York, of course. Went to the Navy for about 9 years and when I got out, was extremely lost. Didn't know what to do. I was in IT. But I had this knack of like creating stories visually. And then I didn't know what that really was, right? I picked up iMovie and just started making what now is content, right? Mm-hmm. Then I started exploring different online communities and ended up helping one of the top motivational speakers, Eric Thomas, out with his social media platform, growing it from 300K to what it is now, 2.2 million on Instagram, almost 2 million on Facebook, right? And just fell in love with content because that's what really grew the account and helped me with all these other things. And realizing that me loving what's happening with content, all of a sudden AI started buzzing around. What is this AI thing? And of course, I think we all started hearing about it from a massive standpoint with ChatGPT. And because of how much I love content and tried to find a lesson out of everything, I started using ChatGPT more on how does this apply to content creators? How does it apply to marketers? How can this relieve some of the task? And so now I'm just going all in on AI when it comes to content, and it's just been a super game changer.
Well, and most of the content that you are creating now is video content, right? Or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. No, all video and like threads. I love threads. I'm not gonna lie. I really like threads.
So Deeper Than the Brand, like tell us about that. Who is that for exactly?
Yeah. So, it's an online community that is literally for people who are trying to grow their brand online, but are just stuck, right? With everything that from content to all these different social media platforms, all these different tools, what do we do? And so I realized that some people don't feel comfortable being themselves online. Some people don't know what tools to use. So we just come all together, figure it out all together, have different lives, like AI lives, night owl lives. We have different AI tools that we try out together. It's just a whole vibe.
Very cool. Okay. So, the content creator community, I'm sure there's plenty of those that are really scared of AI. And, we'll talk about that in just a second. But first, let's talk about the upside. What
Yeah.
is it that creators and marketers, why should they pay attention to AI? And then we'll talk about some of the concerns.
I believe it is a huge time saver, right? The way that things are now, we have like some core players that we continuously hear over and over again. Now, what people look at is like, oh, it's going to replace us, and we'll talk that later. But what can it do right now? Can it help me improve my writing when it comes to landing pages and websites? Can this help me with my captions for my social media posts? Can this help me with my script writing for the video content that I have to create? And so right now, AI saves so much time. And if it saves time, it saves money because I don't have to pay maybe a VA person to help me write these things, find this person to research this. I can do that all through AI now. I can ask it a question. I can give it a certain prompt. I could show it a picture. I could speak to it. And now it's giving me everything that I would need to have a solid foundation to go on with what I need to do. So I think like the tasks that we're not super happy about, that we know we have to do, but we're not fans of, and it does take up time. I believe AI is here to assist us with that. And as it continues to get better and better, I feel like then we could start talking about roles and titles. But right now, it's here to help with tasks.
And what kind of unlock has that been for you?
I think I got, let's say, 8 to 10 hours back of my life every week, right?
What are you doing with that time?
So now I'm thinking of new ideas, right? I think as business owners, marketers, creators, we have to find time to think. If we're really here to improve our skills, scale, we need to have time to think about what is the next thing so we can then execute on it. So now with that time back, I'm able to think and get on to the execution and then find what are the resources that I need to do to continue to maintain that so I can then go back to thinking, right? There's no real pride of like, yo, I work all the time. There's not this. That's tiring and creates burnout.
Yeah.
But with this, now I'm having all the time back and I'm like, oh, I got this idea. We could try this. It makes things fun again when at a certain, I think we realize at a certain point, it starts to feel kind of tedious and like we have to. And I want to always go back to the I want to vibes. Like, this is what I love to do.
Let's talk about some of the concerns and fears that you're hearing within the creator community and maybe try to address some of them when it comes to AI.
The replacing, of course. Like I could give a quick example. Graphic designers, right? They were worried about Canva before. Now they're really worried when it comes to AI with Midjourney and DALL-E. But as I was saying earlier, it's not in a place where it replaces anybody. We're so what's the word that I'm looking for? We're so intrigued by it right now. So of course, you do a picture, we're like, wow, that's fire. You do a video that clones you, wow, that's fire. And then what? Then we realize it's AI. It's not you. It's not your own swag. So when I go back to the example of like graphic designers, we still need certain tones and certain styles that you only give. You only know that, okay, if we say a lion on a mountain, but you know that the sunset has to be at a certain angle, in a certain color, with a certain texture, with the water looking a certain kind of way. Like you only know that because this is some of the stuff that you do. For my copywriters, right? We've all used ChatGPT, Google, Gemini, Claude, some of these machine learning languages, right? And it is trash sometimes. Let's just be honest. It doesn't sound anything like us. We could give it the correct frameworks. We could give it the PASTA framework. We could give it the AIDA framework. And it's still not going to sound anything that actual human beings would be like, yes, I relate to that. You still have a skill set that is needed, and this is just giving the framework. So it's nowhere near replacing us at any moment. It's really here to just give us our time back.
Let's talk about the algorithms, because that's another concern, right? That the algorithms might be punishing us if we produce content that's somehow supplemented by AI.
Yeah, I think we have to be aware of that, but I don't believe it's something that we have to fear. So if we look at just patterns, right? When Instagram was starting with Reels, let's use this example. And they didn't care if it had a watermark on it. Just give me Reels. Just give me content. We'll blow it up, right? And at a certain point, they said, okay, hold on. Now we know that you're coming from TikTok, you're coming from YouTube. We're going to actually not show that as much. And then people kind of figured it out what else to do. Right. Yeah. So this is the same thing with AI. People are going to be creating with AI. The algorithms are going to love it right now because it's saying, hey, you're giving us more content. You're giving us exactly what we want. Users are loving it. Great. Once it starts not working anymore, or there's too much of it, then there's going to be like, okay, we got to regulate a little bit. And us as creators and marketers, we just shift and pivot like we always do. So it will happen, but it happens with everything new.
Well, and if we're honest intellectually, Meta, which owns Instagram and Facebook, has their own AI, and they're integrating it into the platforms. LinkedIn has got AI integration. Twitter is working on their Grok integration. So I think AI is just going to be a part of the creative process, and they're just going to eventually just accept that everyone is using AI at some level. Now, there's another concern that a lot of people have, which is my content is feeding the large language model. Essentially, by putting my creative content into these various different tools, I'm essentially giving away my rights to the content. What's your thoughts on that?
So here's the thing. I think once we get on these platforms, a lot of our quote unquote rights was already compromised.
Right.
So
people have been scraping our stuff from the beginning, right?
Right. Like just because AI is here, it doesn't shift the focus of them using it or not. Like we've been using other people's content, whether it's flat out, like we take somebody's content and we put it out there, or we do it without crediting them at all forever. Now, and I have a big problem with people like, oh, AI is creating scams. AI is taking this. We had identity theft before AI. There's always been a problem. There's like, it's just that fear mindset of trying to find a reason why not to use AI. But we're seeing this consistently being a talk. It's consistently on headlines. This is not headlines like blogs only. This is like on CNN. This is on NBC. This is on big news now that we just have to pay attention. And it's never, and I think the CEO of NVIDIA said this, it's not about AI replacing us. It's about the people who know how to use AI that's going to replace us. And that's why it's so important in this time and this podcast in itself that we're given different outlets to learn how to use it so we can still stay valuable in whether our 9 to 5s or just in our skill set for entrepreneurship.
So just before I transition to my next question, if I were to summarize what I hear you saying is, number one, AI is today not really a replacement for many creative people. If anything, it allows creative people to do things they've never done before, right?
Facts.
Or it allows them to outsource things to the AI that they struggle to do themselves. When it comes to the algorithms, it seems like all the social platforms are embracing AI, so we don't think that's going to be a problem. And when it comes to feeding your content into these models, the truth is that Google and everyone else has been reading and using our content from the beginning, so this is just part of the way it is to do business. So, so that brings us now, and thanks for addressing that. I think it's important for some creatively minded people to understand that and to kind of grapple with that a little bit. So when it comes to actually starting to use AI, let's start with repurposing, because I know this is an area where you have made a lot of progress. Especially, I know you're mostly focused on videos. So let's talk about some tips or some things that you've done just so people can have their eyes open for possibilities of what can be done here on repurposing. Yeah.
So we got to look at the first thing is first. When it comes to repurposing, we've already created the content. Now it's a matter of going back and seeing what is the content that actually worked, right? You don't want to start with things that probably got like 5 likes, 0 comments, and then try to make it work. When we're repurposing, we're looking at it from a standpoint of just repackaging it and giving it new to our audience, right? Whether they're day 1 people or whether they're day 477, like it's all about the packaging. So the first step we have to do is go into our analytics, whether that is YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever your platform is, and look at it. You can go from a 30-day standpoint. You could do from a 90-day standpoint. You could do a whole year, depending how you want. I know some people are a little sticky with like, oh, I showed it this month, so I don't want to show it again. First off, like 10% of our followers only see our content. Let's be realistic.
If we're lucky.
If we're lucky. Like, I think the standard now is actually 8, but like not everybody sees our content. And if they did see our content, they probably forgot. I don't believe anybody who's listening right now can remember what somebody posted 2 weeks ago. I just don't. It's very hard to remember that. So look at that. Pick out maybe, let's say, 5 pieces of content, right? If we're looking at a Monday through Friday standpoint, 5 pieces of content that you're like, you know what, this did good. How can I repurpose it? And then we're going to get into these tools and things like that.
Okay. So, let's say we've identified these 5 different videos. Let's talk about, before we get into the tools, let's talk about how you are actually repurposing it. We'll get into the tools later.
Absolutely.
But like, what are you making? Once you've got these 5 videos or whatever, what are you doing with that?
Yeah, so I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the original content format, right? So is that a video? Is that written? Is that picture? I'm identifying that because now I'm taking it a step further of like, okay, could this be written? Could this be a longer video, a shorter video? Could this be an image of some way, shape, or form? Right. So now I'm identifying the different types of other content formats that I can do. Then I'm looking at it of, is there a part that maybe could just be reused? Like maybe it's just good enough and I just need a caption, right? Like just a brand new caption. Or maybe I didn't put it, if I have 2 platforms that I'm concentrated on, maybe I posted it on one and not the other, right? Maybe I have to just repost it on the other platform. So I'm identifying any type of gaps that I may have with that particular content, and then all the different possibilities that I can create. And then I'm posting it in that way where I'm like, those that are images, I have certain AI situations for that. If I need to create it in a written standpoint, whether it's like a newsletter, like some of my top, let's say, pieces of content, I turn into newsletters. Some, especially my short form. My short form content will turn into a newsletter or a YouTube video.
Explain what that looks like for people in words, just without getting into the tech. We'll get into the tech in a minute, but like if you took a reel and you turned it into a newsletter, that doesn't seem like it's going to be a very long newsletter, right?
Well, that's why you expand on it, right? So like a reel, of course, is normally between 30 seconds to 90. And so I'm looking at what was the hook, what was the main points, because I'm normally giving some type of tips or things like that, or what was that interest point. So now I'm going to break it down of, okay, I got my hook, but what's the problem? Now I got to write out the problem. Now I got to give a little bit more details about the steps, because all I would do is step 1, do this, step 2, this, that, like, it is not really breaking
So are you
down
using the
that.
AI to expand on those? Is that the idea?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And talk to me about your threads plan, because I know you do some cool stuff with threads. Talk about that a little bit.
So threads has been like a testing ground for me. Any type of ideas that I may have, I'll put it out on threads. For some people, they love X. My thing is threads.
But you're mostly doing text, even though you know you can do video on threads, right? We're talking text
This
on
is
threads.
I probably only posted 1 or 2 videos ever on threads, right? Okay. So I'm writing out just small things. The great thing is that they have like this audio feature that, because sometimes I don't like typing, I'll do the audio feature and just remove the audio part. So it's just text, right? Then I'm looking at...
Explain that, because I don't think I'm tracking.
Oh, so they have an audio note feature.
Threads does?
Where like it transcribes what you're saying, and it also has an audio file attached to it. Not everybody uses the audio file. So I just take off the audio file and I keep the text. Right.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, because I'm not as active on threads, because there's only so many platforms I can be on. What you're saying is you're using threads to record your voice. It's giving you a transcript. You're killing the audio and you're just using the text. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Okay. Absolutely. So back to a little bit more on like, so you're taking so what I'm hearing you say so far is you're taking a successful reel, right? Yep. Or YouTube Shorts or TikTok, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, there's something here. Now I want to make a written version of it on threads. And
no, so I'll take my threads strategy is actually separate than just my reels one. Normally my threads, my really good threads, then turn into reels. So it's not reels first. My ideas go into threads. The ones that work very well then turn into reels. The reels then turn into newsletters that then turn into YouTube lives or YouTube videos, depending on what the topic is. Sometimes it's very topical. So those that are like really current, they stay as YouTube lives. But if it is something that's evergreen, then I'll turn it into a YouTube video.
And where are you using AI on the thread side of things? Are you using it to come up with ideas?
So the threads ones helped me expand the idea. So like I'll do, like, let's say I get a short idea, but then I want to make it into a list, right? Because listicles do very well on threads. So I'll go to AI and help me create a listicle that's a little bit more detailed, but not too long. Put that in there, see if it does good. Create a shorter version, right? Because I may have put extra words, shorter version on reels. And then I'll actually, since I have a core foundation with the threads, I'll take that thread and then go into AI to expand it for a newsletter.
Well, this is intriguing because anybody who uses written posts on any platform, Threads, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter /X, you could follow this exact same model, right? Because text works on all 4 of those platforms. Yep. Okay, so let's get into the AI tools that you're using, because first of all, it's really interesting to hear, just as a side note, that you start with Threads, which are you... When you do your threads, I know there's a character count limit. Are you trying to keep it super tight, or are you actually having literally multiple threads all sewn together? You know how Threads allows you to have
So mainly I try to keep it short.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll test out the long thread form that it allows you to do. I feel like that works just better on X than necessarily Threads. They still want you to kind of just make as much of a punch in that one little space that I give you. So I mainly try to keep it really short, really shareable, and then I'll expand.
Okay, cool. Thanks for going on that rabbit trail with me, because I know my marketing audience is going to be very intrigued by that. So let's get into the tools that you're using.
Let's go.
Let's start with how you're using ChatGPT in very creative ways. We talked about some cool stuff that you're doing that a lot of people probably aren't doing with ChatGPT. So how are you using that to help you?
I got you. So the very first thing, I'm using the mobile app. Okay. The mobile app is one of the best things that's ever happened in my life, because I like to talk, right? I like to talk my ideas out. And with the mobile app for the paid version, I know they're trying to come out with the free version, the more features depending on when this comes out. But right now, for the paid version, it has this on the bottom right. There's a not a microphone. There's headphones, and when you click on the headphones, it allows you to talk back to it like a conversation. So I'm literally having 15 to 20 minutes bare minimum of conversations with ChatGPT of saying, hey, I'm a content strategist, right? My audience, and I go break down my audience. I have this idea for them from a content standpoint, right? This actually worked very well. I'm talking to it like a person. This worked very well on Threads. So I want to know, how can I expand it? You have some resources like content frameworks that I feel like would help me do a newsletter. Help me out. And plus, ask me questions of what you may need to help with this output. Because the biggest thing is I could have a whole 20-minute output to it or input to it, but I still don't know what it needs. So regardless of whatever you're asking it to do, always end it with like, yo, what more questions do you have for me to get the best output of it? So it'll give me whatever output it has. I may like it, I may not. If I don't like it, I'm having conversations. Hey, that's not really it. Actually, it doesn't even really sound like me. So let's kind of switch it up in this way. And I treat it like a brainstorming buddy, right? Anytime that I have a true idea, or that I got data that this idea works, I'm just talking about it with ChatGPT. Then I'm creating images inside of ChatGPT based off those ideas.
Yeah, real quick before we talk about the images. First of all, I love this. And are you creating threads? I don't know what to call them. I mean, I'm calling it threads, but there's, you can have different conversation threads. And do you, or are you using custom GPTs to do this? I wanted to start with that question because I know you can do either one. Because every time you talk to it, are you telling it the same beginning stuff, or do you kind of have a couple different like my creative consultant for newsletter, or my creative consultant for this, and then you go in there and it kind of already knows where you want to go with the conversation when you go back?
So I have both actually. I find it easier to just start a conversation, then title it, and just go back to that for some reason, then create a whole custom GPT. I feel like that's a little, for me, like excessive sometimes, because sometimes it's just based off an idea. Right. So I have like one conversation that's literally called like Nicky's ideas.
I love it.
And so we just talk it out. Now I do have a GPT for like to help me format my threads, right? And of course with GPTs, they probably understand tweets a little bit better. So I just label it like tweet storm. Right. So for certain tasks, I have GPTs that I know I go back. If I've one of the GPTs I have is like I've transcribed my voice based off some of the videos that I have, and I put it all in a GPT. And I go, listen, this is my voice, this is my tone. I'm gonna give you something that inspired me. Now turn this into how I would say it.
Love it.
Right? Yeah.
Right. Love it. And for folks that haven't done this before, even though it's talking to you, it's got a transcript of everything it says, so you can go back and you can look at it, so you don't have to write it down. So you were saying you have it make images for you. I also want to talk about the taking photos stuff, because we talked about that as well. So didn't you say you also use it to take pictures of stuff? Or
I use it for really dope things. So for my writers, like literally like pen pad people, if you write something down like an idea, you can still take a picture of it, and it I guess reads it. Yeah, it can read it. I was going to say transcribe it, but it can read it, and you can then have further conversations based off the ideas or the picture that you found, or like if I saw an image that inspired me, I go, hey, can you break down the different elements of this picture? And I can upload it. I could take take the picture and upload it. And so now we're having conversations based off just of what I see, what I've written down. And the writing down one is really good because I'll come up with, like, let's say one of those listicles, and I'll do like the 4 steps of how to start AI with your content. And I go, hey, can you expand on this? And it'll have those same 4 points, but now with a bit of a description underneath each one. So it just helps. That vision part is really dope, just to expand for my writers, but also for like my visual people. If you see some type of inspiration, how to turn that into a conversation.
Well, what's cool is I can imagine people that have dry erase boards behind them or whatever. They
my
might
whiteboard
have some,
people,
they might have some people on the whiteboard, or people that, you know, were on an airplane and they wrote their ideas specifically down on a pad of paper because they didn't want to pay for internet access.
Yeah.
The good news is you got all these different options, which is really cool. Now you also, the generating of images, a lot of people know ChatGPT can generate images. My guess, I don't, what's the application? What are you having to do when you're asking to generate images for you?
So I literally just tell it, hey, what would represent this idea? Right? I'm not the most descriptive person, right? I'm not the natural graphic designer. Yeah. Right. I'm not that. But I can explain, hey, I like this lion and who's like in a cartoon situation, looking at the phone, kind of confused, looking at Instagram, right? And I tell it that, and then I can expand on what it creates. So meaning, if I didn't like what it created, it did the hat weird, or it didn't do the phone right, or it didn't do the colors right. Okay, correct it. Let's do blue background. Let's do a red background.
What are you doing with these images, just out of curiosity? What's the purpose of these images? Like, what are you doing with these?
So there's a few images. The one main thing that I definitely use it for is like thumbnails, right? But not necessarily for it to create the thumbnail and post it, but for it to give me the foundation of a thumbnail and how it's supposed to kind of look, so I can give it to my graphic designer, right? The biggest problems that I always see with people and creatives is that they don't know how to describe their ideas properly, right? Yes. So with AI, you're now allowing AI to describe everything for you, show them exactly what you need, instead of going, hey, I want a thumbnail about an AI podcast. You got it.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a big unlock because like a lot of us work with graphic designers, and you have to be very clear with the graphic designer in order to get the idea out of your head. And I'm working with a graphic designer on something right now, and I gave him 2 different examples. One was a sailboat, and another one was people walking through like a forest. And then he came back with some AI generated art that he had prompted just to kind of see what vibe I was looking for. You know what I mean? And that kind of helps at the early stages of art direction, which I think is really, really cool. And a little side note, I'm sure you know this, Nicky, but not everybody knows this. On ChatGPT in particular, when you're using it to generate images, you can go into those images and you can edit them. And there's a little lasso tool, and you can select the little area, and then a text prompt comes up, and you can say, remove this, replace this, make this different. Have you messed with that much at all, or no?
No, I haven't. Yeah. I haven't messed with that part.
It's similar to Photoshop generative fill, if you've ever done that before. You just basically get a little circle thing, and you can circle and fill the areas, and then another prompt comes up, and you tell it what you want to change, and it changes, and it creates a brand new image for you. So let's say you got an image of a perfect image, but they stuck a YouTube logo right in the middle of the darn thing. You can literally, which they do a lot when I'm doing thumbnails, I can literally go in, edit, and draw right around the YouTube logo, and then say remove, and it will fill the backdrop in, and it will create a brand new version of it, which I think is really cool.
I got to try that out now, because I didn't know that feature.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's you have to click on the image, and then I think there's like the little lasso will look like a symbol in the upper corner. I think it might work better on desktop than mobile.
Oh, okay, for sure.
So just because you have a little more control space to work with on your laptop or your desktop. Okay. Anything else about ChatGPT before we move on to some of these other cool tools?
No,
not,
I think that.
Let's talk about video. What are you using for doing video editing?
Oh, video is dope. So OpusClip is one of my favorite AI tools when it comes to videos. Reason why is because you take a video from anything from 2 minutes, 1 minute to like 3 hours, and you put it in OpusClip, and it creates everything from vertical videos to square videos to horizontal videos. Now, I look at it. I look at this in two different ways. One, okay, of course, it's going to give you all the pieces of content, social media content that you need. It also has a social media scheduler and calendar. So everything that you create right there, based off the content that you already have, right? You can schedule it out, no problem. You can see it on a calendar when it's about to be posted. Amazing, right? Now, I also use it from a generating content ideas as well.
Okay, before we get to that,
Oh.
why don't you just explain to everybody the AI side of OpusClip? Because there's a lot of tools that can take a video and clip a little reel out of it, right? This is a little more what's the AI side to it?
Oh, I got you. So it picks out, it does a lot of great AI things. One of the main things, it picks out the best parts of the videos that they feel like will go viral. So it has a viral score, it has a hook score, it gives you a description of what's happening, it adds the captions, like all those trending captions we see, like Alex Hormozy and Gary Vee. It adds all that. If you have like a talking head video, or you're just a subject in one thing, it has AI B-roll and so it'll automatically generate it, or you can have a pop-up of saying, hey, a flower that's leaving the earth, right? And it could create it and make it very motion-like. So it does that. It also does different layouts. So for my podcast people, if you have 2, 3, 4 people in there, it changes out the different layouts with all the scenes that you have. So yeah, OpusClip, it trims it, it expands it, it changes the format, it does everything. I really love OpusClip. I ain't gonna lie.
And full disclosure, they have been a sponsor of a conference.
Didn't even know that.
And some
I
of our
literally love them.
Well, you probably saw them at Social Media Marketing World. You probably just don't
they
were there.
Oh
and then one of the things that I thought was kind of intriguing is that it seems like what they're doing is they're taking a transcript of your video and trying to find the best content, but they give you a ton of them, like 20 different options, right?
Yes.
And it's not always the top one that's necessarily the best, right? So you got to kind of go through and tweak them, and kind of cool. So just that's what they do. And you were about to say you have a creative use for it that's maybe non-standard.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you're using it.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people look at those tools like OpusClip and be like, okay, all my content's done. I don't have to think of anything else, because it milked out that one video. But I look at it as, this is now untapped content ideas that I didn't even think about, because AI is picking out all the best parts. Mm-hmm. So if you drop a video about, let's say, how to create content with AI, you drop this video in there. Cool.
It could even be an interview like this, right?
Yeah, it could be this. And then we talk about ChatGPT. We talk about OpusClip. We talk about the mindset of AI. These are all different untapped ideas that are inside the one main video. I can take that idea, expand on it. I go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, I got this video. I got this video and this idea. I got it gives you the transcript. Here's what I said about it. Can you give me another video script? Can you give me a thread? Can you give me something that I could use in my newsletter? Or if I want to create another video, let's say I wanted to do a whole video about OpusClip, right? I will take this part that I'm talking about, that OpusClip cut up for me. I'll turn it into a horizontal frame. And then I'll say, hey, in the beginning of my video, hey, I was on the podcast talking about OpusClip. Let me show you a little bit real quick what I said. Play the video and then expand even more about it. So I'm repurposing the repurposed content and getting new ideas from it, because it gives you, like you said, 20 new ideas.
So just to be clear, is OpusClip, are you doing all this inside of OpusClip, or are you taking some of this out of OpusClip and going into other tools like
No,
ChatGPT?
I'm taking it out of OpusClip. OpusClip gave me everything.
Got it.
And now I'm what I do, like different tech stacks. So now I'll take it and I'll put in ChatGPT. Now I'll take it, I'll record a new video, and then I'll put it into my own video editor because I downloaded the video already. Now it already created the title for me, actually, because OpusClip creates titles for each of these clips. I already have an AI title from OpusClip, so I'm good.
Let's talk about Castmagic, which is a tool that we also use at Social Media Examiner. Explain what it is and what are you doing with it?
So I'm still on Castmagic. Castmagic is a AI tool that normally, when it first started out, will take your podcast and break it down into tweets and threads, the title, different titles,
transcript,
different link. Yeah, the transcript, the LinkedIn post, all your social media platforms, different content for it, all based off of your podcast. Now they've expanded it to any types of videos and any types of audios, which is really good because you can now have a written style of content based off your video and audio. Really great app. How I use it is my ideas, right? So with ChatGPT, I talk out my ideas. With Castmagic, I feed it my ideas and it creates the content for me without me having conversations about it.
With no video and no audio at all. You're just having an interaction with it, or
so the app actually allows you to record your voice.
Okay.
Right? You don't have to upload anything. It allows you to record your voice right there. It transcribes it instantly, and then it creates the multiple social media posts. So it'll give you the transcript, the summary of it, possible titles for it. It will give you the tweets, the LinkedIn, the Instagram caption. It gives you everything. So I'm now looking at my idea in different ways that it can live on these platforms and see which one kind of pops out to be like, okay, this is going to be a good reel today. This is going to be a good title for a YouTube video. This we got to expand on that. So it allows me to look at it from a social media scope of, does this land in the online world, or was just this the idea that I just needed to get out of my head?
Okay, so there's probably some people saying, couldn't you do that exact same thing in ChatGPT? Is it because Castmagic allows you to turn that stuff quickly into social posts that you choose to document a lot of that stuff inside of Castmagic?
Yeah, because there's already prompts inside of it.
I see.
So the second that it processes, it creates all of that. Where with ChatGPT, I have to be like, okay, here's what I'm saying. Now, can you create a thread? Now, can you create this? Now, can you create that? Where I'm 9 out of 10 times I'm using Castmagic while I'm driving, not like holding the phone, but I'll press it real quick to record it. I'll end it. And then I can, once I'm done driving, I see all the stuff that's there. So it's not a back and forth conversation. These are those moments where I don't have time
you just need to get your idea documented, basically.
I just need to get it out, documented, and see if it's worth it.
Very intriguing. You talked about Notion .ai or Notion AI or whatever. Explain what that is and what you're doing with that. We talked. By the way, we talked about it when we were prepping. We haven't brought it up yet today.
So Notion has to be top 2 of my favorite apps. Right now,
explain what it does for people.
So Notion is like an all-in-one platform. So whether you're a project manager and you want to put all your projects in there, whether you want to write out your ideas, your social media content, it's just a place for all of your notes, all of your projects, all of your team stuff. Whatever you may need it for, it could do it, right? And it could create templates. It's great. Now, how I use it, everything that we just said, 9 out of 10 of them is like written. So what I'm not going to do is depend on that same AI to store
Castmagic.
my stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll take all the conversations that I find that was useful and put it in my Notion. Right. So I
'Cause
have
it's
a page
database.
for ideas. I have a
Yep.
page for video scripts. I have a page for video ideas. Like I have different pages for that. Now, what's great about that is they also have Notion AI, and I use it in two different ways. One, if I just want to expand on what was said, it has its like ChatGPT features.
Mhm.
So I can highlight an idea that I said that I talked already in ChatGPT about, but that was maybe 3-4 days ago. And I can go, hey, can we expand this into a newsletter? Can we expand this idea into a listicle? Can we do this as a past and present situation? Right? Because normally how I have my Notion set up is if there's an idea, I have a template that has like a one in many situation, meaning if an idea is there, then it gives you a list of like past versus present, make it into a story, make it into a listicle, make it into a myth buster. So it's giving me all these different ideas to expand on the idea, the repurposed content already. So I can just highlight it and say, hey, help me do the past versus present. Help me create a story from it because it has ChatGPT features like that, right? That's one way that I use Notion and Notion AI. The second way is what's great about Notion, it's like a second brain. So I can say, hey, I've written in here about different tools of AI. Can you help me figure out all the tools for that? And it'll give me everything from all the different pages, databases, all in one spot. So I'll have to look for it, but it goes based off that and it goes the references of the pages that I've done that, which will help me create content so much quicker instead of saying, let me go through this database, let me go through this page, and then let me collect it together and create a information from it. It's like, hey, I'm creating a post. I need all like 5 AI tools real quick that does this. And it'll come up with that and the reference points. So that's how I use Notion AI because that thing is literally my second brain.
Nicky, this has been absolutely insightful. I think so many creative people that are listening right now have all sorts of ideas they're going to put to work.
Hey!
If people want to connect with you on the socials, what's your preferred place to send them? And if they want to learn more about your business, where do you want to send them?
Yes. So all these amazing tools I have been putting on YouTube, youtube.com/@thisisnicky's. Okay. Or just look up Nicky Saunders there. Instagram is still my one of my favorites. They've been acting crazy. So YouTube, Instagram, and Threads, you can find me all at This Is Nicky's. Deeperthanthebrand.com for any of the AI toolkits that I have, get inside of the community, all that vibe. And just connect with me there.
Nicky, thank you so much for sharing all your insights with us today.
Absolutely.